SMARTGov presentation today. I am just going to put you all on hold for about a minute. We're just going to wait for a couple of additional attendees to join us, and then we'll get started. Thank you. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Serenity Lombard. I am a product sales associate here with SMARTGov, and I just want to thank you for joining us today. We are going to be talking a lot about SMARTGov and PTWin, and I'm really glad you could all make it. You should be able to see the presentation slide on your computer screen. The presentation will last for 60 minutes, and you should be hearing me either streaming over your computer speakers, or you can dial into the conference phone number that's located in the webinar window. There is a chat function in GoToMeeting, so if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to chat them through to me, or if you're having any problems with seeing the presentation right now or hearing me, you can also let me know that way. We'll be having a Q&A session at the end of the webinar as well. Here is a slide just showing our company, Paladin Data Systems, was formed in 1994. We are a software products and development company located in Paulsbo, Washington, which is just a short ferry ride outside of Seattle, Washington. And this is a picture of our employees at the Paulsbo location. Paladin has more than one main product line. We actually have several. The one that we're here to talk about today is SMARTGov, of course. That's for your permitting, code enforcement, and licensing functions for local government. It's a paperless solution, web-based, includes GIS mapping. The second main product line that we have is Panoramic. It was originally developed for the Washington State Department of Fish to track salmon rehabilitation efforts. And it was retooled to be a portfolio management tracking software. We also have ASMI, which is Advanced Skills Management, which tracks training and certifications and has over 100,000 web-based users. And we also have CloudStream Services, which is business consulting, product development, and brings products into the cloud-hosted environment for Microsoft Azure, Amazon, and IBM. Here is a customer map of a lot of our clients in the United States. You can see we're represented in all 4 time zones and really have a national presence. Just to give you a little bit of history on SMARTGov itself, Paladin Data Systems in 2002 developed a custom software package for Kitsap County, Washington, a local jurisdiction here. They needed a product to track their permits, inspections, code enforcement, what have you. Paladin decided that was a very successful deployment. They decided to bring that source code into a product named Interlocking. It was based in Oracle technology, and by 2005 they had deployed that for 8 more local governments. We continued on that path, and by 2010 we had 23 local jurisdictions using Interlocking, basically in the Northwest region. At that time we decided that we wanted to redevelop the product, re-architect it, and bring it into .NET SQL Server technology. And that was the conception for SMARTGov, which was released in mid-2011. During that same time frame, we were contacted by a company called Black Bear Systems, who was located about 45 minutes away from us, and we actually purchased, they were going out of business, we purchased the Black Bear Systems PTWin source code, and we're able to put together a data migration script, able to migrate all of the PTWin data into the SMARTGov system, and we're offering for that for free of charge. By 2012, we had doubled all of our permitting customers and representing in all 4 major time zones, so SMARTGov brought us to a national presence. And we have converted over 30 jurisdictions using Black Bear systems to date, and we have an additional probably 9 or 10 on deck right now that we're getting ready to deploy. At this time, I'm going to introduce my colleague, John Bird. He is the sales executive for SMARTGov.
Thank you, Serenity, and it's been an interesting ride. You kind of go through the chronology of what's taken place, and especially in the past couple of years. As far as those 30-plus Black Bear customers, you have played a key role in that process.
Yes, I have. It's been great working with everybody. As most of the people online know, I did work for Black Bear Systems from 2002 to 2010, so I've talked with many of you over the years for quite some time.
Yeah, and then that's been a real benefit to us because you bring that experience, you bring those relationships, and so we've been able to really understand specifically what PTWin customers need, what's important to them, and with a lot of your help on that, it brings us to this presentation today. And I would say, we're really going to focus on the data that's in PTWin and how important that is and how we can take care of it. But I mean, I think that you would validate that that's one of the single most important aspects for a PTWin customer, isn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely, because many of you have been using the system for years, and so you have a ton of data in the system that you want protected and you want to save, plus you have a ton of configuration work, but you've really set up PTWin how it works with your particular jurisdiction, and so we're able to bring over that configuration work for you.
That's right, and I think a lot of times, Serenity, you get calls from PTWin customers that say, I simply can't even access my data anymore, or the user login is corrupted and none of us can get in, and that's, I mean, you get that from time to time fairly often.
Yes, and we just actually had a jurisdiction contact us last week where they did not know who to call because there's nobody to call any longer with Black Bear out of business.
Yeah.
And they were locked out of their system.
Yeah, so, one of the things, again, we're going to just be talking about preserving your PTWin data today, and the first thing is just migrating for specifically your custom attributes that you have in PTWin, because that system has a lot of capability for you to develop custom attributes which you're tracking along the way, and those are important. We want to show you, amongst other things, we want to show you how we can take care of that. Also, your inspections specifically, your code references, and these are just really 3 examples. We're going to go actually into a lot deeper additional things, but those are some of the things we want to look at. We also will probably reference a couple of pitfalls that we've learned along the way as well, some of the challenges that can exist, and with 30-plus under our belt, there's some key lessons that we've learned, and we know how to do some workarounds for important aspects. The other thing that we want to talk about is some new features that the Black Bear customer base has asked for a long time. And these are some things I think you're going to be excited about, including some GIS stuff that's built into our product, public portal stuff, and a few other aspects. But Serenity, again, I think you can vouch for some of these things being asked for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Black Bear was behind the times in terms of functionality for having any kind of GIS in the system or a public portal environment.
Yeah. So, we're excited to be able to show you some of that today. And so with that, I now want to introduce my colleague, Walter. And Walter, I'm going to let you pull up a slide or two here. But Walter, you are the delivery manager of SMARTGov.
Yes.
And that means a lot of things. You get to wear a lot of hats and take care of a lot of problems, but also lead us very successfully, especially with these PTWin customers. Maybe just say a word about that, how that's been.
Yeah, so absolutely. So with PTWin, there's the interface is quite different. One, it sits on a Windows, Microsoft, it's a Windows 32-bit application running Paradox database on the back end for those technical folks out there. But ultimately, it was designed and developed back in the early 90s, and it's lived this long, which is it says something about it. But it also has some limitations, like John's talked about a little bit of some of the pitfalls and preserving your data. There's a maximum limitation. Back in the 90s, big databases would get up to above the 4 gigabyte limit, and some of these jurisdictions have been running for so long, and they have so much data now in their PTWin that they still want to preserve that when they come over. And so we're able to do that with our migration process and some of the other things that I'd like to start to show you. And actually what this presentation that we want to do is actually show you what PTWin looks like. And I know you've all seen what PTWin looks like, but also show you what that same data looks like in our SMARTGov application.
Yeah, great. So, instead of just talking about bringing, PTWin data over, we're going to actually take a look from the PTWin user interface and then look at that same permit in the new environment.
So here I'm bringing up a couple of screens here. So the first screen I'm showing is obviously a permit in PTWin. Everyone probably is here familiar with what it kind of looks like. And PTWin shows you a record count down here. It shows you some basic information of the permit, what type of permit it is, as well as, if you go to the administration screen, here's the permit number, what status it was approved, some square footage. Well, to find a permit, in PTWin, you have this search function right here. You click on that little magnifying glass, and you can search on these fields, right, with the permit number. And then we have all these alpha fields and these currency and all these other fields down here. And it's not very user-friendly. It's not a very user-friendly search. But in SMARTGov, what I like to show is here's what happens when you log into SMARTGov. And we have all these nice little features that allow you to be able to search on a permit. So I'm going to go ahead and search on a permit. And in this case, I'm going to show you kind of some of the things that we see here, a number of permits here, and our search function. So we have this big orange button right now, a big search by, and we can search by any of these fields in SMARTGov. So you don't have to guess what those fields' name are. You're not limited just to a permit number. You can actually search on the permit owners, the parcel number, or anything else associated with it.
So you don't have to know what Alpha 1 means and Alpha 2 and Alpha 3. Yeah. The name of it is self-descriptive.
That is right. One of the other nice features, too, within search, so if I've gone to a permit, SMARTGov is very smart in that it remembers the last permit you went to with this what's called a recent on the right side, on the left side here, and it'll show the most recent permit you went to. So again, one of the things we do with our customers when we migrate their data, we walk them through a validation process, and we say take a couple of your permits. So in this case, I'm going to copy this permit number right here off of this permit in PTWin, go right back to SMARTGov. And what I have also here in SMARTGov is I could put various filters on this. And I could, in here, I have the ability to save filter types here and making a default filter. So in this case, I wanted a default filter with permit numbers to search by. And a great feature here is I can click here instead now, put in that permit number, and it'll filter it down to exactly that permit.
So that's the permit we just looked at in PTWin, but now we've already brought this into SMARTGov, and now here's what it looks like.
Here's what it looks like in SMARTGov. That's absolutely correct. So we go click on that in the details, and voila, here's the screen. And if you kind of look, it's a little bit different from PTWin because we are web-based in the cloud. We're right now hosted in the Amazon cloud, and we see basically all the same information. Here's that 1728 square foot right here, and we have that in the project description. We also have the approved status here, same thing as in the PTWin. So we have that information. We capture all that information.
So all of their legacy data was transferred over.
That is correct. We have now there's a couple of things. We have potato and potato kind of scenario here where in PTWin they call it an applicant. Well, in SMARTGov we call them contacts here. And so when you go to the Contacts tab in SMARTGov, you're going to see that same applicant information. Now, we only give you a summary here of that contact detail right here. But we have this little more information icon, which at any time you can click on and you can view the details of that contact here, including their mailing address and everything
So that's
else.
in Baldwin City, Kansas. So if you were to pull up the PTWin look of that, again, Baldwin City, Kansas, that was...
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And we can see the phone number, and we bring it in as an applicant so that we see their phone number here, home builder, and whatnot. Now, if you also notice, we have this owner information here, and that's because in PTWin, you have the ability to add owners here on the parcel tab, and so we have the Patrick Jardin here as the owner of this particular parcel here, and we bring across all his information of Baldwin City here.
Okay, so that contact is now in SMARTGov and could be used on other permits down the road potentially, or?
That's correct. So one of the things, yeah, and a good point, John. One of the things is, if you notice in the PTWin, you have these two buttons, borrow from owner and borrow from contractor. What PTWin does is they pull in the contact information at that point in time and copy it into these fields, and it stays with this permit at this time. Well, within SMARTGov, we manage contacts slightly different, where we have we put all our contacts under common contacts here. So we bring in everyone across, and so that way you only have to update that contact information in one spot in SMARTGov, and it populates across all your permits, which is a little bit better, I think, in some regards, because now you don't have thousands and thousands of the same contact record in your data. Really, there's only one John Bird. Same concept here. So that's what we're doing here with the SMARTGov. Also with SMARTGov and the migration, we also bring over the parcel information, and we bring over everything we have in PTWin over here. And if you click on the Go To Parcel, and this is the same as in SMARTGov.
Wait, can I see that more before you?
Sure. So if I click on the Go To Parcel here on the Parcel tab,
And that brings
it brings up this other dialog of all the parcels for
so
this
that's
particular
the
jurisdiction.
parcel number with the site address and probably ownership or something like that.
Right,
maybe.
section township,
Okay.
reign, we have the owner, and we have the associated permits with that this parcel is. So same thing in SMARTGov. Here I am on that building permit, and here's the associated parcel. Instead of using the Go to Parcel button, we have this more icon, and it brings you to the parcel record exactly the same way. And I can look at the owner information here, the address, and then I can also look at applications. We call it applications in SMARTGov, and here's all those other additional applications.
Okay. So the permits that in the PTWin system are associated to that parcel, we're able to preserve that and bring that over as well.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct.
Now, what about, Walter, the parcel numbers? Are there ever challenges when you're bringing numbers of the parcel over? Because I think, I'm looking at Z Legacy. I guess that's your permit type.
That's permit, and this is the parcel number. So sometimes parcel numbers are duplicated, again, because PTWin doesn't have that tight constraint. So when we run into those issues, we'll put the parcel number and put a -2 after the second instance we find a similar parcel number. What ultimately you could do with cleaning up your data is use SMARTGov's parcel connector, which you can add on as a service, which then you can load the county tax assessor's parcel data information into your data and then reassociate those parcels back to your permit.
Yeah, that makes sense. But if there's parcel information in PTWin that contains legacy permits on it, you don't want to lose that, of course.
Right.
And you're saying that sometimes PTWin parcels will duplicate a number, but it's actually a different parcel.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
I do think once you told me that sometimes a parcel number will be null in PTWin and there won't even be a number at all.
Right. And that does happen. And so what we do is we take the, there's a key inside of PTWin, and you'll see a -1, a -2, or whatever the record count was. And so we still bring that in with the record number.
You'll just append something to it, and
that's correct.
Right, some type of number. Okay.
That's correct. Now, you know, I talked a little bit about the search here, and I'm going to go back to this permit again here, and we see our inspections, and we see fees, and we see other permit information. And people go, okay, well, this is all something I configured within PTWin. Does this come over? And where will it come over into SMARTGov? And we see there's about 3 tabs here of additional data that, you know, is very customizable for each jurisdiction.
So these would be custom attributes?
These would be definitely custom attributes in SMARTGov. And so what we do is we have what's called a details tab, and it brings in all those details right here on SMARTGov. Now, one of the nice features, you know, even here the details are drop down. So here I have a purpose new or whatever, construction type, and they come over as drop downs as well here in SMARTGov.
Great. So all the values in the drop down are available.
That is correct. That is correct. So one of the things too is, you know, it would be really nice to be able to look at any of these details, and we certainly can in SMARTGov. One of the things I didn't show you right now, and I'm going to show you now, is on our advanced search here, we have the ability to select by attributes or by properties. Here, I'm going to search by any of those properties that we have, and this is on any one in these things. So what I'll do is I'll look for financed by. Let's see. I'm going to try to do.
So again, these are custom attributes defined in PTWin, which we can bring over and even search the database against them.
Yep. And I'll do wildcard. And it takes a while because it's searching through every attribute in the system, and eventually it comes up with the results. So this is one of those more advanced features that you can start using within SMARTGov to be able to search on a lot of those details more quickly.
And does the PTWin system enable a search against custom attributes?
It does, but it's not as efficient. It takes a little bit more time. What we have here in the search is, again, the different fields that you could search by.
I see, but you can't name those
right
on the search panel what they're actually called on the screen.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Just like in PTWin, SMARTGov, we have a menuing system, and where we show you here's the permits, the code enforcements, the inspections, inspection schedules. We have parcels and contractors and licensees and so forth, and some of the fees. We do this also in SMARTGov. Some of the things that we do in SMARTGov is we have here permitting, code enforcement, licensing, recurring inspections in all these different areas. Then we have common areas where we have the contacts, the inspections, requests and perform, our parcel information, as well as our receipts. So we bring over all the receipt information you had within PTWin. If you didn't have a receipt number, and this is often the case, this is where you're going to see this like negative here, which is we're using that database key that's already exists in there in the PTWin data, and we'll pull it across, and so you can still look at your receipt for this individual, who it paid for, what department, who the cashier was, and what amounts they paid in this case. So we capture all that information right here in the migration.
So then talk to me about, you're showing receipts there. Does that mean fees? And I'm not sure how complex fees are in PTWin, but fees themselves can be brought over as a configurable thing.
That's right. What we do is we bring all your fees under, so here's the administration feature, and then under finance we have all these different fee codes, and we're going to show it all the inactive. We bring them as inactive static fees here, and so here's where all the fees would show up, because there is no what we call a fee calculator within the PTWin's system. But in SMARTGov we have more advanced calculators. So what we do, just to preserve the data again, is we bring it as an inactive fee just for referential purposes, but in the future, and as you start to configure SMARTGov, you can use various fees, and we have a fee calculators which you could base these fees based on various custom attributes that you have configured within your permit or code enforcement cases or something like that, and tie them to different accounts as well in your accounting system. And all that comes across. One of the other things too, like a lot of times code enforcement folks go, hey, you know, I've configured in here, you know, a lot of these municipal codes, and does this information get preserved? And we absolutely do preserve all that information. Again, here's these, what we go into the options under PTWin, and we see all these municipal codes and accounting codes and anything else in here. We do bring those into our SMARTGov migration, and yes, you could continue to use these same codes, and this information comes under a lot of the, let's see, and we're going to go into, but we do bring this information right over to code references. Yep. And see here's the whole list of code references. And these can be used for your inspections and other code violations or whatever you also. And this library can be updated as well. So you have that ability here.
That's great. One of the things, Walter, I saw on a permit type, once you migrated into SMARTGov, and I saw it on a fee type as well, I think, is Z legacy.
Yes.
I know that you guys do that for a reason. Explain that if you would.
Yes. So the reason we bring over some of these permits or some of these fees as a Z legacy is because sometimes there needs to be a delineation of the permit type, and you may even notice that here the status is set to inactive. Why we do that is because one of the things is in SMARTGov, all that configuration in PTWin doesn't really necessarily match up with what's in SMARTGov for how we handle workflows, how we handle reports and stuff. But we still want to preserve that data. In the settings of this information, we can go to the various permit types. And right now I'm showing all the active permits. And again, here I can inactivate all these and look at all the inactive ones, which are these Z legacy ones. And you can see they're basic setups. We just bring over very basic information on how expiration rules work, how statuses work, and we bring them in as an inactive status. So, because one of the things within SMARTGov, when we do bring it in this way, you still can migrate this data at the time. We go back here to our permit types, and I'm going to look at all the active ones, and I say, I want to, change my business process, and I want to add a little bit more to how I do my building permits. So then we have these new building permit types, and in this case, we have configured all these new. We decided, hey, we need a building for plumbing, a building permit for remodels, a building permit for mechanical or electrical. And you may go, yeah, I do want to be able to find that detail and move these permits instead of a general building permit into some of these other ones. So the great thing here is, and I'm going to show you with this building permit, we can technically change this permit type. And we click this down here, this link, and we can say, what's the new permit type? And I could say, I want this to be say a remodel. And what will happen here is I could either just take it as a new permit type, or I could apply all these plus whatever I configured in the new permit type that I want to use, and that takes the PTWin data and marries it up with your new business processes that you want to do and copies all that data over right there for you.
Interesting. So now that's a closed permit, or is it, oh, that's an approved permit. Okay. And then copying and cloning could fit into the discussion too.
That's right.
Which is, so in this case, you're taking that existing permit and you're just changing it to a different type. But then the other thing you could do is clone it, clone everything that's in it as well as the configuration for the purpose of new types, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And so all that information can come over. We can keep, you know, and then when we can decide we want to keep the conditions the same, or we want the fees. And remember, we talked about the static fees, and in this case, we may not want to bring over the fees from our old permit type and just use the new permit template.
So answer this for me. So if I have some of my PTWin data is in SMARTGov as Z Legacy, can I do reports across my Z Legacy stuff? Like maybe I want to build a trend analysis of you know, how many by permit volume, by permit type across the past 10 years or whatever, right? Can I build reports across both my Z Legacy and my new types? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. So within SMARTGov here, we have the ability to do, you could use any number of these permit reports that we have in the system. So there's a number of permit reports that can get detailed statistics, you know, permit statistics for the last 120 days. But in addition to that, and some of you've seen the ad hoc tool within PTWin, and maybe not used it so much, but this ad hoc reporting tool is a little
clunky.
A little clunky, as Serenity could probably attest to, working with a lot of PTWin customers over her years. We have an ad hoc reporting tool here in the SMARTGov system, and it brings you over to this helpful system, which then I can say and create a new report, and I could, in this case, you know, create, and what happens is we have a number of reports that we could see. Create a test report.
So it actually includes a wizard that you can use to create.
That's correct.
Because the ad hoc system in PTWin, of course, you had to know all the linking and the data schema, really, of the system. So this is wonderful.
You need a folder, don't you?
Yep. So I just need to create a quick folder.
I didn't prep you for this, did I? You're on the fly, my friend.
I am on the fly, so I'm just going to create a quick test right here. And what I want to show you is, you know, it has a helpful wizard. It even helps people like me. But I could say, okay, I want a permit report, and I can look at the permits associated to this report. And notice here, it starts filtering down. So it says, okay, I can look on permits and all the fees associated to a certain permit, and it keeps on filtering down. So you don't have to guess. These are really named after some of the tabs that you're familiar with in SMARTGov.
In other words, well, you don't have to guess about the relational model of the table.
That is correct. You don't have to guess. We've already taken all that guesswork out of you for you and made it very simple to work with that interface.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, okay, so I have a couple other questions. Contacts on PTWin, can you have more than one contact or applicant?
You cannot. You cannot have more than one applicant. And if you looked at the PTWin data right here, again, it goes back to you can only borrow from one or the other. And like in the permit I showed you earlier and showed everyone here, if we go to the contacts here, I can add more.
Yes.
So you could have an applicant, you can have the owner on there as a contact, you can also have the, and there's various roles. You can have the agent, the architect, any number of contacts there
Right.
for this permit.
And even create additional roles than what you're showing on the screen. You can have as many roles as you might define.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of goes beyond what even the PTWin did with contractors. You know, you could have multiple contractors. Well, we also went a step further and said we also could have lots of contacts for your contract.
What about, Walter, attachments or notes?
Yes. So one of the things is, you know, if we look at a permit, and it really anything, we have what's called graphics here, a graphics tab. In this scenario, you have the ability to attach an image or a graphic, or even create a link to some of those graphics. So there's two places where these graphics would sit, with some inside the PTWin database and others on the file system. Well, if you have those, if you have attachments in your PTWin data that is on a file system that's still referenced, you know, zip all those files up. When we do the migration, we ask you to zip all those files up off your file system, preserving the same file structure, and we bring them over attached as these notes into the permit. So we have this concept of notes. So we bring over all these notes, and they would show up here, and we have the ability to add those attachments. And so if I decided to have a picture here added to it, to this, it would show up here. Your graphics would show up, and you can click on it and view it.
But now, if there are graphics in the legacy PTWin data, that does not go away. That's available. That's brought over.
That comes over, as well as documents or anything else that you have attached. We bring them all over.
Yeah,
if you provide them with it. It doesn't come out of the PTWin database itself.
And I guess one side note on that too is that if someone purchases SMARTGov and we do the hosting for you in the cloud, is that document storage is unlimited. It's a function of the cloud platform. You can have as many documents there as you want, and you're not going to max it out.
That's right. And one of the things too with the cloud, since this is available anywhere publicly, now you don't, you step outside of your own computer and you're working from home, or you're working in the field as an inspector, you can access all that data. And we also have a remote inspection assistant. So if you don't have network connectivity, you can use our remote inspection assistant to download the associated documents. So maybe there's plan documents that an inspector will need when he goes out to do an inspection. And so he'll have, not only with his inspection report, but he'll have those attached notes and those attached plans with that inspection.
Yeah, great. So a couple other things, Walter, and then following this, let's move into some of the newer things, such as the portal and the GIS. User security, role-based user security. I know there's some capabilities of that in PTWin. Could you show us a piece of that, and then show the corresponding capabilities on the SMARTGov side?
Sure, absolutely. So in the PTWin, we have this options and securities, and you can add these users, and they have basic views and where they can access it, whether they can edit it or just view it or have no access at all. Well, our security goes a step further, and we do bring over all the user information, but we leave it inactivated. And when I go into the users here, you'll see all the users here in the system. And I'm going to show you all the inactive ones too. Just apply. And so we bring it over everyone, and you'll see that they come in as a legacy because they don't have a real username and passwords. But we do preserve that user information. The reason we do that is because these users are associated to a permit or an inspection, especially on the inspections. They'll be associated, but we just keep them deactivated. Now in SMARTGov we have various levels of security. We have security groups, so you could say which department this user is allowed to be in, various security groups, if you want to have a group functions, and then even at the user level, if I go to the users security, we have all these different groups already pre-configured for you. So you can say, okay, the inspector administration is always going to have the ability to configure new inspection types, but he also has the ability to grant certain permissions to other people. Yeah. And then inside each of these groups, you can see right here, we have the full read, update, create, delete, or full access to all these different areas. So we can control, you know, if they have access to the admin area, if they have access to licensing and various modules and sub-modules in each of those areas of the PTWin or in the SMARTGov system. So our features on the security is a lot more richer.
Very granular.
It's very granular.
So you can create this group, maybe for example for a cashier, right? And then anytime you bring in a new user and you say, hey, this person, I want them to have cashier functionality, you just turn that on and then they have the whole raft of cashier capabilities.
That's correct. That's correct. And you can control, you know, even at the user level. So if you say, okay, this person should be a part of that group, but then give them a little additional roles, right? We talked about some of these things. And if you see right here, you can assign the user to a certain group and then add additional functions here.
Specific for that one user.
For that one user.
Yeah.
So you can have a little bit more. And so you have that ability to do group permissions or very individual permissions. And you can see we have about 267 areas within the app that you can secure at various levels.
Awesome. So one other thing here, Walter, and then we'll get into some of the new stuff, is would you open up the audit log? Give us a sense of what that is and why in a relational database, and of course with today's litigious world, well, this is of course important, but show us what that means.
Yeah, so the audit log, what this does is in PTWin, you don't have anything of real audit capability. It just wasn't designed back in those days. But we can turn on auditing to anytime a person makes a change to a permit or some element in the permit, it'll show up here in the audit log, say what they did and when they did it and what the old data and new data was, the changes. So you have, as administrators or even you know, other you know, planning departments or whatever, you have the ability to see who made changes and when and why they made those changes.
And all old values.
And all the old values as well. So you could see even in today's demonstration, it tracked auditing what I did to some of these, the permits that I was working with today. It tracked a lot of that information already.
Okay, so you know, again, I appreciate you showing all that stuff, Walter. It's very interesting and it's super important. Let's look now at, in terms of some of the newer functionality, maybe show us the GIS browser and how we can grab a group of permits and display that on a map.
Sure. So here in the permitting, we can, if you ever go to your search permits, we have this little map link. It's not very noticeable at first, but it brings up our GIS map, and in this case, I won't show exactly all the pins, but what happens is, because this is a initial migrated and doesn't have all the lat and long data, but we have a map, and you can also have configured all these different layers within your map to turn them on and off. Let's see, and show you details. I have to zoom in quite a bit, but you can configure maps. In this case, it's REST services, so we can consume REST services, or we can, if you have your own GIS layers that you want to provide to us, we can use those and host them in our own cloud GIS server. either case, you have that ability to have the map within SMARTGov here, which you don't have in PTWin. There's no such thing as mapping.
Yeah. And this map, not the parcel layer itself, but the satellite image, we deliver that out of the box along with a road map. And so if someone purchases SMARTGov,
yes,
by definition, you get some GIS functionality.
Yes, you'll get this world imagery or this street map here view as part of it. And there's some of these other tools as well to zoom and color and other options here in the map.
That's good. Walter, also then we have, maybe let's just talk to this with next one and not show it because we're running on time, but that is recurring inspections, which I think is the idea that, you know, a permit itself has a finite lifespan. You get to the end of it, you close it, you archive it, and it's done. Sometimes you have maybe a fire marshal, and every 2 years or every so often he's got to go look at all the elevators in town or all of the escalators or boilers or what have you. And so that never ends. And so the recurring inspection capability, I think, supports all of that.
That is correct. So we have a recurring inspection, and in the past, many jurisdictions would have put this as a permit and reissue a new permit every year for maybe a landlord or whatever else. And so we have the capability of using recurring inspections. We also have a license module that also has various expiration rules and renewal rules.
Yep. And also to go with that is an automatic email notification system, which, you know, when it's time to do that next inspection a year out or 2 years out or 6 months or whatever, whoever's on point for doing that inspection would get an email that says, guess what, time to do this, and those things can kick off and automate. So, Walter, from here, how about the public portal? Can we take a look there at the public portal?
Sure. So in this case, you know, all this information, you could take various permits and actually publish them to the public. And we have what's called the public portal, and it's starting up. And there's various modules that you can configure. And in this case, you'd be requested to log in, but within, you know, here, for example, permits, you can have people apply for permits. You could have them pay for the fees on those permits. They can also request inspections, and they can also, if they're logged in, they can view their various permits. But this is some of the other features that we have, and inspection scheduling. We also have public notices, which is those permits that you want the general public to know about. So you have a private view of your permits and public view.
And is the advanced search working here as well?
Yeah, so you can do various searches on, you know.
So somebody could say, show me this type of permit, or put it only those in approved status or whatever, and then if there are any things that matches that, I can then take a look at that, or I can even map it. So even that same mapping tool that's on the back office now becomes available to the public itself with all the tools there. Or let me open the thing up, and here's what this is going to look like. I can see what's included, contacts. If there are attached documents or submittal steps or inspections, I can see all that. But at the same time, Walter, one of the things I love about how you guys built this public portal is the jurisdiction has control over what they're publishing. You can turn off the inspections if you don't want the general public to see that. You can turn off the parcel if you don't want the general public to see that. So it's very, very useful. And in terms of let me just go back here. In terms of applying for a permit, if I'm logged in, or even looking at anything, it's a simple wizard that walks me through. It's a 3 or 4 step wizard, and it just walks me through each step. So it's super powerful. I mean, I just love the way you guys built it.
Yeah.
With that, then, boy, there's so much further we could go. But Serenity, I know we have probably a couple questions. What feedback or questions can we address?
Well, we do. We have some questions here. A couple of them are having to do with GIS in particular. A gentleman's wanting to know, can you link SMARTGov to your GIS parcel data so the owner information and or address information can be auto-filled when you're creating a permit?
would you like to handle it? Or?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely you can. So when we do, with that parcel connector, we pull in that data and it loads in there. And there's some, if I show you in SmartGov here, and I'll go back to that SmartGov screen here. If you see, when we go here and we create a permit, we have these little hourglass icons, and it's an autocomplete, so it will ask and autocomplete the names. And so all this information we pull from that parcel data.
That's great. Wonderful. Yeah, we can talk about costs more. There's a one-time charge for bringing in your parcel information from the county, and that one-time cost includes an automatic job that you set up to run whenever you get updates from the county so that the system remains current with all the information that you need in it. And then another one with the GIS in particular, he has his own GIS system. Can he export the data, the GIS data in SmartGov to use in his own GIS system, or how does that work?
Yes, absolutely. There's two ways. One way is you can have it exported to us, and we have a certain file format, and we load it into our GIS in the cloud. The other method, if you have our GIS server where you can publish your own REST service,
okay.
We can consume that and use that and display those layers in that way.
Okay, that sounds great. One more question. Can you show really quick the business licensing screen just so that one of the attendees can take a look and see what it looks like?
Sure, on the SmartGov side. So here we have licensing, and you can search on all the licenses here. And again, here's all this PTWin licensing, and we bring it in. And we can show you, and now in PTWin, there's only one occurrence of a license. But in SmartGov, what we have is an additional thing here called renewals. And so we always bring it in as an initial here. But you can always create renewals. And with this particular license, you can also add expiration and renewal rules in the back end where we do the configurations. We capture a lot of the details, any inspections, notes, and fees as well associated to the license. But this is generally what it would look like. Your reports that we would associate, we have a different business license report that you can associate. And again, there's various configurations, so this is going really quick and not showing you all the details.
And I didn't mean to just throw that at you, but it does look like it's set up a lot like the permitting side is, and the difference being, of course, from PTWin that you have the ability to do renewals very easily and track that information under the one same license.
Yes.
Okay.
I just might add to that too, Serenity. Walter, I know you guys are, this is in your backlog to deliver this, but you know, the thing about a license too is that it tends to continue on longer than a permit. You know, as long as the licensee wants to keep renewing it, it just keeps on going. And so ultimately, having that renewal functionality on the public portal is perfect, and that's where you're going to want that, so that the applicant can then, just log right in, renew it, fill out what information they need, and so on. Now, that said, we don't have that on our public portal today. But I know that's in the backlog, and I'm not sure if there's a target date yet for that, but my hunch is probably middle of next year or something.
Right.
Is that'll be available. So by virtue of that, the payment function that's already on the portal and what you folks, your team will be adding, that licensing renewal will be fully automated on the website.
That's correct.
And that's great because somebody was just asking about that. So you can do permitting and code enforcement from the portal as it stands, and the business licensing is something that we're adding in.
Yes.
There's one more question in regards to the portal. If they want to get started now with the system, John, and that without the portal, can they add it on at a later date? Is that okay to do?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you certainly can. You can really start with just a simple basic package of SmartGov with the appropriate number of hours and services to get you deployed and trained, and then at any time in the future add on additional users, additional services, or even addition, or the portal itself, add that on in the future. And typically what we do, I mean, this is pretty common where we'll have a customer that says, hey, you know, I'm kind of midway through my term, but we've got some needs now to add on the public portal. Can we do that now? And we do. What we do is we'll just prorate it so that your anniversary date stays the same, but we'll prorate it, and so that first, you know, if you're only paying for a few months that first go around, that's all we'll charge you in order to keep that anniversary date the same. So it's really flexible to do that.
That's great. I think I have one more question here. I'm just trying to get to the functionality here. Oh, this is a great question too. Glad that it was asked. Can SMARTGov integrate with financial software? This jurisdiction just purchased a financial package and is just wondering, how does that integration work? Is there a charge for it? John, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, that is a good point. Walter showed some of the fee components and so on, and what we typically do, Walter, I'll describe it. You correct me where I goofed this up.
Okay.
What we typically do is create an export batch file based on the sequential requirements of your finance system. So, in other words, at the close of every business day, we have a job that would kick off, which would pull all of the financial transactions out of SMARTGov into a delimited file. All that means is into a file that sequences the data, and we build that sequence according to the requirements of your general ledger system, so that you then take that export file and can run it through the import function of your general ledger system, and it automatically will load in. The benefit of that is that you're not duplicating manually the data entry. You've entered it in SMARTGov already. You don't have to manually redo that. It's just ready to go. How do I do that?
Yes, that's exactly right. So in SMARTGov, you know, again, here John was talking about some of these jobs that we have here. And in this case, if we ran any of these jobs, it's in this administrator type of functionality, but you can have various extract processes. So here's what we call the receipt extract, and this receipt extract is that file that John's been talking about. That would then you would be able to get that file downloaded and then load it into your finance system. Same with the county parcel data. Here in this case, if I wanted to upload, this job is configured so that way you can say, I want to run this job, and these jobs are also set to run immediately. You could schedule it. You can have this pull from an FTP site or push to a certain location. So all that is configurable in SMARTGov. And we also provide you the ability to get to your database extract as well.
Yeah.
Get
Great.
nightly backups of your data, even though we're doing backups for you.
Wonderful.
That's great. And there's no more questions at this point.
Very good. Well, just to close out, we do appreciate your time today, Walter. Thank you very much, my friend. Serenity.
Yes.
Thank you. You know, the SMARTGov Advantage, I like to close with this. There's so many aspects of any type of software, and of course nowadays with cloud hosted, and certainly SMARTGov can be if you choose to, with big data ramifications, and we're not going to talk about that today. We've done webinars on big data, and SMARTGov is big data ready, and it does leverage some of the aspects of big data. But I'll just mention a couple of things here. You know, anytime you're bringing in a system like this, and especially bringing in legacy data that's so important, you're going to be wanting to look at the maintenance and support capability of that new system. And one of the things I will say about the SMARTGov Advantage is that being hosted in the cloud, we have what the industry calls an SLA, or a service level agreement. And our service level agreement, together with Amazon and with our own internal staff supporting SMARTGov, is a 99% uptime. What that means is that you have guarantee that the system will be available according to the SLA at 99% availability. That's, well, obviously, that's almost all the time, right? And so if for some reason something happened to take the cloud itself down or to take our system down, you have assurance that that's not going to happen, or if it would, you would be entitled to you know, recompense for that. The second thing to do is, of course, references. You know, it's one thing for me to say I think this works really well, but we've brought over, as we've already mentioned, a number of PTWin customers, and they're happy. They can issue testimonials. We can give them out as references. You know, let these people tell you how the systems work, and I think that's super important. As far as the PTWin data, we understand how significant it is, and here's our stance on that. we do it better than anybody because we were able to buy that source code. And Walters and his team have really refined that process. And that piece of our system is free. We bring that PTWin data in at no cost to you. So that's really quite a big deal. You know, the other thing, just simply getting started, we have quick start documentation, and we also have an effective training program. Some of the paradigms within PTWin are actually somewhat similar, let's say, Walter, in SMARTGov. And so I think you're going to get that transition pretty well, but we've got you equipped with the right documentation and so on to get you going. The last thing I'll just mention is future-proofing your investment. A system like SMARTGov really has a lot of things that you can grow with. We're adding new things all the time. We've got some really exciting stuff in regards to electronic plan review that we'll be adding as well. And there's always new things, Walter. We keep
mobile and everything else.
That's right. So, you know, the SMARTGov advantage is to say not only can we bring in and leverage all your legacy data in your PTWin system, but we've got the functionality to serve what you need to get your data into a smart system, but also pull out all the appropriate data that helps you with making the right decisions on your business, and then all of the future features that we currently have and are still adding to keep you going. It's all there. So what does it cost you? You know, ultimately, a system like this, we need to have a chat with you and figure out all the details, but our basic package for a minimum of 5 users is $7,500 per year. That's the entire platform of the cloud. That's all you need to support the system. Our help desk is open from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time, so that's all of that. Good news is that for your first year, we do knock off 1/3, and so it's actually $5,000 in year 1. And then moving forward, starting in year 2, it's the $7,500 each year. There could be some additional services up front to get you trained or whatever you might need, connectors and so on. The public portal might be added and so on. But, you know, again, we want to talk to you about that. We'd say our next steps, hey, go to our website, take a look at what we're doing there. Call us, email us. We'll leave this slide up for a few minutes, but give Serenity a call. If you need to talk to me, you're welcome to. We look forward to chatting with you and hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.